Hi, this is Carlo Quispe. I'm the creator of the comic The Bicentennial Generation. I'm a Peruvian cartoonist living in Brooklyn. I made this comic with Peruvian artist and activist Nadia Rondon. The title, The Bicentennial Generation, refers to the people that are living in Peru now, 200 years after the independence from Spain, and who are living now through ongoing political crisis. This comic is an informal history of the terrible leaders that we've had in Peru since the 80s. And at the same time, it's showing how it is regular people, everyday people, young people, women, farmers, that are organizing protests against the colonial system that we still have, even though it's been 200 years. This comic is about the people that have been killed since the new president took office and declared a state of emergency, sending the military to rural regions to stop the protests, which they did by shooting at people who were either actually protesting or just bystanders, a lot of them teenagers. Before the Fujimori era, which is known for crimes against humanity, we also had a terrible president named Alan Garcia, who actually started out as our youngest president and more of a center-left candidate before he became a corrupt politician. He also comes back later on, became president again, but and then ended up going to jail. But before he went to jail, he commits suicide. And one of the details that I didn't have room to include in the comic is how his own father, Alan Garcia's own father, had gone to jail when Alan was a child, and had seen how difficult it was for his father to have gone to jail. So I think that's also one of the reasons why he commits suicide later on. Now I'm showing the Fujimori era. Especially introducing Keiko Fujimori, his daughter, Alberto Fujimori's wife, divorced him and called him a tyrant, and that's when Fujimori appointed his daughter Keiko as first lady when she was 19. So she's been in the Peruvian political world since the 90s, and why she's still around as the head of the Fujimorista movement, which is a right-wing movement. One of the previous panels that was set in the 90s had a protester with a sign that said, "Bush kills Iraqis, Fujimori kills Peruvians." The sign on the right says, "Our only hope is to have a revolution." This sign is in reference to the 4 regions of the Incan Empire, which are now convening from the outer regions to the center of Peru, to the capital, to fight the neoliberal policies that the presidents continue to have, which in a way set up the return of Alan Garcia. After the statute of limitations against his crimes, Alan Garcia returned to Peru and ran for office again and became president again. In this quote here, he's referring to his leftist policies of the past and how he's not gonna do that again. Basically saying that in his tombstone, he doesn't want it to be said that he committed the same error twice, meaning being left-wing. So Alan Garcia turned right wing to get into power, and one of the things that means to the country is that the economic policies that he put into effect exploited the environment. For example, there's a lot of pollution around the industrial mining that is happening in the rural areas. This is one of the reasons why people are coming from the rural regions to Lima to protest, because it is the right-wing policies that are happening in Lima and in the centralized government that are affecting the outer regions of Peru. The political situation in Peru is constantly changing, and so I try to make this comic as up to date as possible. I waited until the last minute to turn it in, and even then I had to change it because of last minute developments in Peru. And of course now it's again out of date, because between the time I finished the comic and now Fujimori has passed away. And so at the end of my comic, I'm showing how the new corrupt president has, let him out of jail because of COVID and old age. But I couldn't include that he, passed away because that hadn't happened yet. But that is one of the good things, I guess, that happened in between the time this comic was finished and the publication. Many Peruvian politicians were caught having corrupt dealings with the Brazilian construction company Odebrecht. One of them was the ex-president Alan Garcia, who, like I said, before going to jail, he committed suicide. I was fascinated by the fact that the gun that he used to shoot himself in the head was a gift that the Peruvian army had given him back in the 80s when he was first president. Something that I think might have given him the feeling that he was in control over the life and death of Peruvians, indigenous people. And at the end, it was what he used to take control again of the situation by taking himself out. So the president at this era is Vizcarra, who is less neoliberal than the previous presidents, and so that put him in a position with the right-wing Congress, which is a Fujimorista Congress led by Keiko Fujimori. And so after parliamentary procedures, he was able to get a vote for a new Congress, which took out a lot of the Fujimoristas, but the replacements, which were centrists, were still in opposition to him. And so eventually they impeached him and replaced him with the president of Congress, Merino. And that led to nationwide protests. And the police injured hundreds and killed 2 young people, Inti Sotelo and Brian Pintado, who were 2 teenagers who were protesting. And after their death, the protest just intensified, and that led to that Merino resigning, and the next president to step in, Sagasti, became we had 3 presidents in 1 week in Peru. Okay, and so this was in 2020, like right in the middle of the COVID crisis, in which Peru had the highest number of deaths in the world. The next president, also a left-winger, Castillo, when he tried to have a vote for a whole new Congress, he was impeached and arrested, but that's because he didn't have the kind of support of the military than the Vizcarra did back in 2018. And then so the right-wing Congress placed Dina Boluarte, Castillo's vice president, as like a puppet president. The chant that opens and closes the comic is against President Boluarte, and says this democracy is no longer a democracy. The corrupt get millionaire salaries and our people get bullets and missiles. Also, the new protests have against Boluarte have been also in solidarity of Palestine, and in the last panel here, it says we are free from Peru to Palestine. Thank you.